Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm Wendell Jones, and welcome to this edition of our program, The Platform. And on this special program, we are going to be talking about Christmas, and we hope that you can see our poinsettias here. The production team, they have done a fine job over the last year and more, bringing to you these programs. And today on our program, we are going to talk about culture. We're going to talk about Junkanoo. And what we are talking about too is the 50th anniversary of NIGAD International. And Peter NIGAD and NIGAD International, they have been sponsoring Junkanoo in the Bahamas and supporter of Bahamian culture for many, many years. And even this Junkanoo season, Peter NIGAD has a granddaughter who is rushing for the Valley Boys. And so on our program today, we are going to talk about the 50th anniversary of NIGAD International and, of course, Bahamian culture. Our guest on the program today is DouglasVeval, who is a member of the Valley Boys, and he has also been involved in Carnival with the Extreme Junkanoo Carnival group. Mr. Veval, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
It's my pleasure. Pleasure's all mine.
Bianca, you always bring very good guests to our program.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
It's great to see you.
And you were the queen one day in the Valley Boys, when they brought out the Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth?
Yes, that was such an honor to be the queen, and I always wanted to be a part of Junkanoo, and I was able to get involved more directly during that time. And Doug was the one that actually invited me into Valley Boys.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, we're going to see some of that video of you being the queen on Bay Street. But why did you get her involved?
Well, I saw her unique structure, her looks, and I thought that she would be a good fit.
Okay.
And so she fit perfectly into the role, and once she agreed to do it, she just studied the role, she studied the part, and she fit in well.
And that
she executed it like no other.
And the Valley Boys won.
Oh, yes.
That was Boxing Day.
It was Diamond Jubilee on Boxing Day 2012.
2012.
Yes. The execution was flawless in her portrayal of the Queen, Queen Elizabeth.
Yes.
Yes, and so the Valley Boys won actually every category, hands down.
The Valley Boys has been around for a long, long time. Been around just a few years longer than NIGAD International, because I think the Valley Boys is celebrating a big anniversary next year.
60 years, we're celebrating our 60th anniversary, yes.
60 years, that's a big deal.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So we have some extra stuff planned, very good stuff planned for this up and coming season.
Yes.
But this one here is, we're going to take care of this season first, and then we're going to move on to the next one. But we're going to take care of business, for sure.
So you grew up in the Valley, didn't you?
Yes, I am a Valley boy, born and bred.
Born and bred in the Valley.
Yes, right next to the Birdland.
Well, you know, I must tell you too that I've been a Valley boy all my life because of, where I grew up. And so we remember the days when the Valley brought out the birds and the bees.
Yes, yes.
You remember that?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Very good. And the Valley, I was telling Godfrey Enos the other day, started with Gus Cooper and his friends. And when I was a little boy, I thought that the Valley was an elitist group.
It is. The Valley Boys is definitely the creme. The creme de la creme.
It's supposed to be a cut above.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's the vision that Mr. Cooper had when he started the Valley Boys. He said, you know what? We can do it better. And so that's his whole platform for starting the Valley Boys. And it's ironic that you would mention the birds and the bees, because for our presentation for New Year's, it's very similar to that presentation, but even better, on an even grander scale.
Yes, and a whole lot of groups, many groups, evolved from the Valley Boys.
Oh yes, indeed, definitely. We had Roots actually came from the Valley Boys. We had there was a group called Force. I don't know if you remember that group.
Yes.
There are a number of groups that came out of the Valley, after the formation of the Valley Boys.
Yes.
Prodigal Sons, all of these groups came from the Valley Boys. They split off.
And so the art of doing Junkanoo, indeed, Junkanoo has evolved. It's a science as well now.
Yes,
you
it
know,
is.
I've seen some costumes being designed. A tremendous amount of engineering
Yes, yes,
went into the design of some of the costumes.
Well, definitely, it's evolving. What you have is new material being used in the production of costumes, and so the costumes are now lighter, and so we're able to construct even larger, grandiose costumes with more vibrant, robust colors that looks, and the costumes are moving and very animated. So yeah, look forward to some good things from Valley Boys.
Do you go through a design kind of, do you have design meetings?
Yes, we do.
How do you bring about these fantastic costumes every season?
Well, yeah, we meet regularly to discuss the way forward and how we can enhance our show to our fans, right? And so we constantly try to look for ways, new material, and ways that we can bring a better product to Bay Street.
And you know that the competition is doing pretty much the same.
Well, yeah, what we find is that they would usually come on the back end of what we put out there. So like when we started the panoramic costume, we noticed that they started the panoramic costumes. When we started the carving of the heads and the features, then they started. So it's up to us to move the ball forward. And so that's what we do.
And you've been doing that consistently.
Yes.
Now, the chief designer of the Valley Boys
Yes.
was Winston Gus Cooper, wasn't he?
Yes.
Wasn't he? And he is deceased now.
Yes.
Who has taken over that role?
That's Dwight Glinton. Dwight Glinton.
Just one man?
Yeah, Dwight Glinton is the head designer for the Valley Boys. I am a part of that board. We have a board of maybe, say, about 9 persons. But Dwight Glinton heads that board.
Okay.
So we have a lot of fresh new minds, innovative ideas that we bring to the table.
And Dwight Glinton was under Gus Cooper's wing all the time in the same shack, worked very closely with him, was really very best friends, almost like a son to him also.
Yeah.
And he's a very talented artist as well as a lawyer.
You know, I am meshing this program with the anniversary of NIGAD International because I know that there is a design team in that organization as well. There are thousands of employees in NIGAD Inc. And they have been designing wares for people around the world. And one of your most popular is the NIGAD Slims, right?
Well, yes, it is very popular. My dad, Doug, and I were just talking about this in the car, that my dad spent a lot of time, really 3 months, really focusing on the design of NIGAD Slims to make it fit the best. You know, how can it look the best? And if you want to tie it in with the Junkanoo now that we're talking about and Gus Cooper, then it's really about being that meticulous from the very start.
Yes.
So I know that with Gus Cooper, I've met a lot of celebrities in my life, and I was never so nervous to meet anybody, remember, Doug? And honored as Gus Cooper. And I was shaking, I was so excited, and I was nervous to talk with him and everything. And then, you know, I really always wanted to be a part of Junkanoo. And when I say that, it wasn't just that I was invited to that role. I couldn't believe that role, but I was excited to be in the shack. And I knew that what it took to be in the shack was you have to start from the bottom. You have to sweep. You have to be quiet and learn and listen. You have to just do what you're told. And, you know, it goes along. I think that everything happened for a reason in the way that my training before that was pattern making with my dad, and my dad also had me like cleaning up at Nygaard Key, and you know, told me to be very hands-on, and if you're going to dedicate yourself to something, then do it 100%. So when I got in, Doug was kind of expecting me to just get a fabric costume and play this role of the queen, and he was like, what are you doing? I had my kids in the shack and sweeping up the shack, and he told me about, we're gonna make the patterns now, and that's easy. You have the pattern and then you cut. That was my favorite thing, the cutting, right, Doug?
Yeah.
And, and then going on to do the contact, do the elbows to build the costumes, do everything and just learn. And there's always somebody better than you in the shack. There's always somebody that you can learn from, and it's very similar to the fashion design, but with Gus Cooper, it starts from the beginning. So you have to be right on those lines. You have to cut so clearly. If you do it wrong, you do it again. There's no room for the colors to be bleeding. There's no room for any kind of let's just whip together something. Everything had to be approved. Everything's meticulous. Everybody has their place and their job, so you set that standard, that high bar, and you're not allowed to be lower than that standard, and that's what really contributes to the Valley Boys being the #1 group right now, I think.
And the leader has to be hands-on, as Peter Nygaard is, as Gus Cooper was.
Yes.
You need a tremendous amount of leadership when you are going to bring a product to market, if you're going to win anything.
Exactly, yes.
And so I know you don't want to give out any secrets of this year's Boxing Day and next year's.
It's already out there.
It's out? Okay.
It's out there, yeah. So we're doing the ancient civilizations.
Okay.
So you're going to see excerpts from the different civilizations. China, Brazil, Greece, Rome. So it's going to be spectacular. So we encourage everybody to come out early. We're going to get the show started early at 10 o'clock.
At 10 p.m.?
10 p.m. Christmas night.
Are you first out?
Yes, we are. We're first out of the gate.
So
it's going to be spectacular.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss it.
Well, I have not been attending Junkanoo regularly, but I'm going to be at this one since it begins at 10 p.m. To see how spectacular this thing is going to be. Yes. Don't let the side down.
No.
All right?
Well, just like how we were talking about moving forward and how things are changing, and how Junkanoo has always been a secret. What's the theme? And that was going to be a surprise on the night, and nobody's supposed to tell. Now the Valley Boys have taken the initiative to go ahead and tell and promote it. They did a whole video clip of what this ancient civilization theme is about, as well as letting people know the history write-up, to let people really get educated on what their theme is. And then also, because we drew #1 and it's time to be out there at 10 o'clock at night, and you know how you really get going is by the crowd. You can do all this work and be in the shack and be doing everything, but if you don't have the fans out there and people supporting you, it's really hard to get that momentum going just for yourself. You really need the support out there. So the Valley Boys have taken it a step further now and are promoting 10 o'clock. Be there at 10 o'clock by video. Okay. By commercials, and so it's that next step forward. Now I see Saxons doing it also and everything, but it's nice to be leading that way in that kind of innovative thinking.
When we were much younger, as you know, Doug, Junkanoo started very, very late.
Yes.
Probably at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning, Junkanoo began. Now it's getting earlier and earlier. I think some years ago it began at midnight.
Yes.
Now it's at 10 p.m.
Now it's at 10 p.m., yeah.
And it's because of the number of groups and the size of groups?
Yes. We have a lot of new groups now. And then remember, we have the A and the B categories. So we have, and there are a lot of members of those groups. So the groups have grown to a very big size.
So the management now of Junkanoo has become quite a task. A task,
yes, definitely. So, but I think they're getting a handle on it.
Okay. Now, what we're going to see after the break, we are going to see a little bit of the performance of the Valley Boys back in 2012. And so let's take this break here on our program. Our guest today is DouglasVeval, and of course, Bianca Nygaard is here. We're talking about our #1 cultural experience, Junkanoo. We'll come right back.